Hello Freedom Tool users. In this video we will be going over how to perform a successful hoistway setup and door startup sequence using the World Electronics DMC-I Freedom Tool software module. Now, in order to get started, the car must be sitting at the bottom directional limit and you must be on the car top. Attempting these procedures from anywhere other than the car top may cause them to save incorrectly. So to get started on doing a hoistway setup, there's a couple adjustments you're going to have to make on the car logic controller window inside your tool. The first adjustment you're going to have to make is adjustment number 1, number of landings. Since I'm currently working on a 3-stop, under actual value, I'm going to get rid of the 6, type in a 3, then I'm going to press the enter button, then the save button. Now I'm going to press the exit button and move on to the next adjustment, which is adjustment number 12, selective door flag. If your car only has front doors, your actual value should be 0. If your car has rear doors as well as front doors, you would change the actual value to 1, then press enter, and then press save. So we're going to hit exit to move to the next adjustment, which would be number 22, the master/slave adjustment. Since I'm working on the master, I have an actual value of 1. If I was working on one of the slave cards, my actual value would either be a 2 or a 3. So the next adjustment we have to change would be adjustment number 23, so I'm just going to press this next button. Adjustment number 3 is number of cars in group. Now, on certain software revisions, this adjustment will be unchangeable and stuck at the number 2. In this case, my software allows me to change this, so I'm going to change this to 1, press enter and save. If you cannot change this adjustment, you can simply ignore it and move on to the next adjustment. So I'm going to go ahead and press the exit button and move on to our next adjustment, which is adjustment number 40. Validate front doors 1 through 4 for group. Now adjustment number 40 is similar to adjustment 23, where not all EEPROM software versions support this adjustment. Usually you can tell if you're working on a DMC that does not support this adjustment by what number comes up in the actual value, stored value, and default value boxes. If you get a bunch of numbers well above the number 15, usually that means that the EEPROM software cannot support this change and that you can simply ignore it and move on to the next step. If your DMC does support this change, you would follow the chart at the bottom of the box. So theoretically, if I was working on a 3-stop, I would enter the number 7. So the front doors would open on the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd floors. So once you are finished with adjustment number 40, you should go through and make similar changes to adjustments number 41 all the way to number 47. Once you have finished making the changes to adjustment number 47, you can go ahead and click the exit button on the CLC adjustment window, click the exit button on the car logic controller window, and open up the selector window. So your next step would be selecting the button labeled Hoistway Setup on the left side of the screen. The first Hoistway Setup window just kind of gives you a brief summarization of the changes you just made in the CLC window, and it's also asking you to verify that the number of landings is correct. So at this point in time, you should reach over and press the reset button next to the red LED on the selector board, and then you can go ahead and press the enter button. Now on this window, you should press the enter button to clear all the selector parameters in the Hoistway parameter table. So you can go ahead and press that enter button and we'll move on to the next window. So your selector parameters have successfully been reset. So this window is just going to have you verify one last time that the number of landings is correct. If it is correct, press enter to move on to the next step. Now you can go ahead and run the car up to the top directional limit and press enter when finished. Then press enter again to save the pulse counts. Just to make sure everything's saved correctly, we're going to go ahead and press that parameters button, which can be found directly above the Hoistway setup button just to make sure everything's saved. So we hit parameters, we're going to have to enter in our number of landings, then press the enter button, and then the software will retrieve the pulse counts we just set. If your selector parameter table comes up with all zeros, that normally indicates that your elevator has a hardware issue that needs to be addressed before you're able to save any parameters. Ideally, for BDL to landing 1, your count will be 4097 or higher. If you have a BDL to landing 1 value of 4096, the EEPROM chips will not save the Hoistway setup, and you'll have to make an adjustment to your cam switch in order to raise that number to 4097 or above. So after you completed that step, you should be good to go to start doing the door startup sequence. So we're going to go ahead and exit out of the selector window, and we're going to open up the front door window. Now, to get started, you should have your car on inspection, and it should be slightly above floor level. So once you're slightly above floor level, you can go ahead and press the startup sequence button on the screen. This window will come up to remind you that you have to do a Hoistway setup before performing a door startup sequence, which we already performed, so you can go ahead and press enter to move on to the next screen. Now at this point in time, you should hit the reset button on your door board and then press enter on your screen to clear all the door parameters. Now that the door parameters have been reset, you can go ahead and set the car to auto. The car should level up with the floor, and then the door should cycle. If the doors do not cycle, that means that the DMC has some hardware issues that need to be addressed before you'll be able to complete a door startup sequence. But if the doors do cycle, wait till they finish cycling and then press enter. Then press enter again to save the pulse counts. Now that the pulse counts are saved, there's just one final step in order to successfully do a door startup sequence, and that's to fine-tune the movement of the doors. You're going to have to go through adjustments number 1 through 19 on the front door adjustment screen in order to make sure the doors run smoothly and do not slam. So that's it for this video. For more information, please visit our website at www.world-electronics.com.